Hi, fellow ELAR teachers. I'm excited to share with you a terrific book called The Reading Strategies Book by Jennifer Saravallo. This New York Times bestseller is a treasure that will help you integrate listening, speaking, reading, writing, and thinking into your daily instruction. Each of the 13 chapters has a reading goal to help you meet the needs of your students in grades K through 8. They include vocabulary, fluency, comprehension in fiction, comprehension in nonfiction, um, improving reading, writing about reading. Teachers simply use formative assessments to identify the goals that they need to work on in their classrooms, and then find the chapter for that goal and identify tons of strategies to help you reach your goals. There are 300 strategies in the book to help develop reading skills. Each page explains the strategy. It gives teaching tips. It talks about, it provides prompts to help the teacher. It even gives the Fountas and Pinnell reading level and the genre that the strategy is most appropriate for. So I will share with you some of my favorites. The Reading Strategies book. This is an example of one page. This is cover and slide. I like this one because I'm always trying to encourage students to chunk words into parts. So I thought this would be a good anchor chart, a good visual for students. On this page, you can see that the author has explained how the strategy works, provided lesson language and the prompts to use, as well as the reading levels and the genre, the skill. Here are some other ones that you might find helpful. Sentence starter sticks, you just get popsicle sticks and write sentence starters on them to get students talking about whatever they're reading. Power questions, these are some good questions that can be displayed to get conversations going about the reading that students are doing in groups. Snap your eyes, I liked this one because it reminds students to read and keep reading until they get to the end mark before they take a breath. I think a lot of times students will stop and breathe in the middle of a sentence, which breaks up their fluency and their comprehension. So this is a good visual for keeping students using their punctuation properly. Click and clunk, I thought was a good visual to remind students that as long as they're clicking along and they're understanding and they're engaged in what they're reading, then they can just keep on reading. But as soon as they hear a clunk or they realize that their comprehension is broken down or they're not understanding what they're reading, then they need to stop and reread. I liked this anchor chart because this reminds students that they need to be reading carefully and thinking deeply, asking themselves questions about things. And these, the sticky notes could change. The teacher can change the sticky notes and the question stems to reflect whatever she's working on in the classroom. This is Map It. Students respond to reading by drawing pictures, which I wasn't so sure about until I looked into a little bit more. The book explains that in order to be able to do this, students have to be listening carefully if it's a read aloud, or reading carefully if they're reading independently, so that they can add all the details that they need to add. This is it looks very much like the plot graphic organizer that we use, the roller coaster plot graphic organizer, but it's got the little sticky, the sticky notes at the top, which I think helps students understand that at the beginning, the character and the main problem are being introduced, then the characters are working on solving the problem, and then they reach the climax, and then they're on the downslide where they're seeing the solution or the resolution. And then at the bottom, you can see the transition words so that they're making that reading writing connection. Some of the anchor charts for characters were really good. This is complex characters. The character's name goes in the center. The adjectives describing the character go along the outside. I've always done a bubble map. I've always used a bubble map when I was teaching character traits, but I never took it as far as having students identify text evidence to support why they chose the adjective that they chose. So this one I think is a really good example of identifying not only the adjective to describe the character's trait, but the text evidence to support that. This one takes it even a step further. It takes the trait and the text evidence for each of the traits and has the student put together their own theory based on that information. So that one really takes it to a higher level. And here's another one that takes it to a higher level. What characters teach us. We've got the character's trait name in the center, the traits along the outside with supporting details, with text evidence to support that. And then students identify a theme or a lesson to be learned based on that information. So I thought that one took it to a higher level. This one I thought was good for teaching character changes, how characters change over the course of a text. For example, in the beginning, in this one, the character was a bully, self-centered, cruel, egocentric, selfish. He teases Penn. He's friends with Mike. And then at the end, though, he's thoughtful, caring, friendly toward Penn. He stands up to Mike. He's kind and sensitive. So, and then they have to identify 3 themes based on that information. For example, seeing another's humanity helps you find your own. Being kind is more fulfilling than being cruel. The best way to undo cruelty is to show kindness. This is the difference between plot and theme. Sometimes students will mix these up. So this I thought was a good visual for students, or a good reminder that the plot is what happens. It's, for example, a boy moves into a new apartment and he's worried about missing his friends. And then the theme is, what's the big idea about it? What's the lesson? It can be hard to change. Sometimes we worry about things we don't need to worry about. So I thought that would be a good visual for the students. This what is good for identifying topic and main idea. Here's another main idea. The main idea is at the top. Day of the Dead celebrates the people who have died. And then supporting details, there are 3 details to support that. And examples are, they tell stories about their family's history, they wear shells to wake the dead, and they visit their family's graves. And I thought students maybe could cut these out, cut these boxes out and create like a table, maybe to illustrate that the supporting details hold up or support the main idea. This is read and sketch. Students can visually see that they read the first time to get the big idea, but they have to go back and reread to get more and more details. Caption it, I thought was good for nonfiction text features. There's a photo and a short passage, and students are supposed to first look carefully at the photo, then read the text, and then write their own caption. What better way to teach what a caption is than to have students writing captions? And it reminds them that they're supposed to be looking carefully at the photos and reading the text carefully as well. So I like this one. This is my final strategy and my favorite strategy. And this is the one that I decided to implement in my classroom because I thought that it was a good way to have students responding to reading. On the left of this double entry journal, you put information from the text. Anything students connected with would go on the left. And then any thinking that they did about that text in the right. It could be questions that they had, or thoughts that they had about something, or feelings that they had. And I started doing this when we were doing a read aloud. We were reading a Bluebonnet book called Stay. I would have students, as I was reading, jot down their thinking, anything they connected with, anything that caught their attention, and then I'd give them a few minutes at the end of the read aloud to record some of their thinking, and then we would share. And they seemed to really start enjoying it. First, they weren't writing that much, but soon they were looking forward to this part of the read aloud. And then I transferred that over and tried to have them start using this when they were reading independently. So I really like this one. I promise you there is a strategy in here that will help you reach your goals. I'm going to put this book in the library. I hope you will stop by and take a look at it and see if there's something that you think might be interesting. Thank you for watching my video. I hope it helps. Happy reading and writing.